When you look at your audience, is it really easy for you to see the root cause, the real thing that's actually causing their problem? But every time you talk about it, it's just like you're talking to a wall. They don't seem to get it. They don't seem to understand it. They don't understand why they need it. They don't even think it's relevant to them. They may not even believe you that that's the root cause. Well, that's because you haven't built a bridge. You have not connected from where they're at in their awareness level to where they need to be to understand the root cause. Here's a perfect example that we dive deeper into in this episode. When parents yell at their kids, they don't understand what the root cause of their yelling actually is. They think it's that the kid just needs to listen better, but it's not. You can still get your kids to listen without having to yell at them. The question is more about, where does the yelling come from? And that right there is the secret to building a bridge. When you can take your audience from, hey, you think it's this thing, you know that you have this problem, you're not really sure what the problem is. You may even think you know the answer, but it's not working. And then all of a sudden, bam, with a few sentences, you get them to realize that is what I need. Oh my God, I can finally see the bigger picture. I can see the root cause. I want the root cause. Help me with the root cause. If that's what you're looking for, then this episode is for you, because we're going to teach you exactly how to build a bridge from where your audience is to where you need them to be in 6 simple steps. So I hope you enjoy. Hi, I'm Brandon Lucero, and you're about to experience the new way to thrive in business, entrepreneurship, and life by leaning into who you are, what you love, and standing up for what you want to create. Get ready, because this is where we go against the grain, say no to outdated society norms, and we say yes to change in order to create a happier, more fulfilled world. Welcome to the New Generation Entrepreneur Podcast. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of the New Generation Entrepreneur Podcast. Today, we are talking about how to build a bridge. And no, I'm not talking about the bridge that you walk across or drive across. I'm talking about a communication bridge, a language bridge, a messaging bridge. So one of the biggest things that I've realized after working with so many people with messaging is, and I've touched on this in the past couple episodes, the biggest and hardest part about communication in general is getting into the perspective of the person you're trying to communicate to. Our ego gets in the way. Our awareness gets in the way. Things we take for advantage get in the way. Our education, our certifications, all of that stuff can get in the way of great communication. And messaging is the blend of communication and marketing with marketing. And so that's what messaging is. It's the communication throughout your entire brand. Is it generating leads? Is it generating the engagement you want? Is it clearly explaining to people and talking to people, making them feel heard and validated and understood? Are you being relevant? Are you hitting the right types of topics and pain points and benefits and all that good stuff? But one of the things that I've realized, and part of the way I develop a lot of the messaging and communication that we have inside of our program and on the podcast, it literally is me just taking the way I talk and breaking it down into frameworks. And so the more and more I learn about communication, the more and more natural it is for me just to get up there and bust something out, right? So most of it comes down to, and all of it comes down to process. There is a process behind everything. But sometimes I'll work with a student and I just know what to say. I just know, like, okay, it needs to go here and here and here. And sometimes I don't even know why I'm doing or saying what I'm saying when I'm saying it or whatever. But then when I backtrack, I can always find a process of where my mind went. And I just do it automatically. My mind just automatically went here, then here, then here, then here. And then what we do is we develop frameworks around that and a process around that to help you guys discover what those elements are. And so that's basically how we've created a lot of what we've created. But one of the things I could not wrap my head around was how I built bridges for people. So I would be able to take someone from where they were, like a problem or something, to, oh my God, I need to learn this thing. And the problem is that thing that they're like, oh my God, I want to learn this. That thing for most of you usually is your solution. It's what you want to teach. It's what you're aware of they really need to know. It's the root cause. But we can't start at the root cause. We can't start there because they have no idea that they need it. So the question now becomes, well, how do we take someone from their awareness level, which is usually going to be a problem? They understand I have a problem. And how do we get them to understand, oh my God, it's the root cause that's causing this, not what I thought it was. I want to learn the root cause. How do we do that? Well, that's what a bridge does. So bridges will work really well in the beginning of like challenges or webinars, like sales mechanisms, webinars, live presentations, live launches, things like that. Sometimes they'll work well in ads. Sometimes they'll work well in the coaching realm. But I'm going to give you a framework here today. Now this does come with a disclaimer. I sat down with the intention of, okay, let's put a process to building a bridge because I didn't know how I did it. I just did it, right? So I put a process together. Now this will be the second time. We already gave it to our NGM Plus students, but this will be the second time I'm delivering this to anybody. So here's my challenge to you. I think this is universal. And what I mean by that is I think this framework is universal. It's true for everyone because I think this is how human behavior works. But it comes with a disclaimer because I put it to the test in about 3 different scenarios, and this framework worked and held up every single time I use it in those scenarios. My challenge to you is to take this framework and put it to work. Give it a try. You don't even have to do it publicly. Just sit in your own office and just write out like, okay, how do I bring someone from their awareness level to my awareness level, and see if you can map this out. And if the framework I give you on the podcast today does not hold up for you, send me a message on Instagram. Just DM me, be like, Brandon, I think this step was off. I couldn't figure it out. And I will see if I can figure it out. Maybe there's something you're not seeing, or maybe the framework isn't as strong as I think it is, and then I can improve on it. So I'm asking you for your help on this episode and letting you be one of the first ones in on how to build a bridge. Okay. So let me give you a scenario of a bridge, and I'm going to use Rachel, our COO, as an example, because I always do. And I know she doesn't mind. So, or she either does mind and she doesn't tell me, but I'm pretty sure she doesn't mind. So, okay. This is a bridge. So the scenario is this. She used to be a parenting coach before she was a COO for us. She had actually pretty successful conscious parenting business. And so, and she dealt a lot with yelling, like parents that yell and things like that. So just to give you a scenario, usually what happens is when parents yell, they yell because they're triggered, right? And then they yell because it's an automatic, there's a trigger that goes off and and that trigger is automatic. But then the other thing is their reaction is also automatic, meaning that when you yell at your kids, most of the time you don't consciously think about, should I yell at my kids? It's usually just an automatic response based off of an automatic trigger. So the thing that most people don't realize is that automatic behavior, reaction, and trigger is usually a result of your past. There's something that happened in your past, or some sort of trauma or healing that needs to happen around something. And also you need to have the awareness of it. You need to have the awareness that, okay, I'm getting triggered right now, but you can't be aware of something if you don't know what's happening, right? So the point is it's a trigger. It's automatic. The reason why it's triggered and automatic is because of there's some sort of like past trauma, and it doesn't have to be some huge traumatic event. It's just, that's the slow trauma environment that you grew up in, where it's like these I guess you can call micro traumas that just created this language and communication pattern or trigger or response. It's like a safety mechanism almost. So, Rachel would talk a lot about like healing your past traumas and things like that. And she's like, well, why isn't it really landing with people? I'm like, because parents don't want to heal their trauma. That's not what they're coming to. They're coming to you because they want to yell at their kids. And she's like, well, how do I communicate so that people understand that this is like, they have to heal themselves and get rid of their triggers? And it's like, you got to build a bridge. So here's what we would say, like on a webinar or something like that. We might actually you want to title the webinars within their awareness. So the title might literally be something like, how to get your kids to listen without having to yell, or how to stop yelling at your kids and feeling guilty every night, something along those lines. And then right in the beginning of the webinar, or near the beginning of the webinar, I would probably say something like, hey guys, you're in the right place if you're the type of parent that is constantly yelling at your kids and you don't want to do it anymore, but you can't seem to help yourself. And then every night you sit in bed and you're sitting there telling yourselves like, okay, I got to stop yelling at my kids. Tomorrow I'm not going to yell at them. Yet the same pattern repeats over and over again. And you feel guilty almost every night. Now, the thing is have you guys ever realized that when you yell at your kids, that it's automatic? Have you ever realized that it's automatic? You're not aware of it. It just happens automatically. Have you guys realized that before? Yes, no in the chat. Okay, great. Now, how many of you have actually asked, why does this automation, this automatic response live inside of me? How many of you guys have ever asked yourselves that? Most people haven't. Now, what we have found out from different studies and psychology reports and things like that, and from healing and whatever you want to say, from healing practices, we know that the behaviors that are automatic, they can't be fixed unless you have awareness and you know you're doing them, number one, but that's most of you. But number two, most of those things are automatic because it is a safety mechanism that's inside your body. That's why your body does it. Now, the safety mechanisms happen because of past events and trauma that has happened inside of your life. Now, we don't need to recount what those are or relive that experience. Sometimes we just need to heal that, and you don't need to know what that is in order to heal it. But healing that stops the automatic triggers. And when you stop the automatic triggers, guess what happens? You stop the yelling. So how many of you guys would like to learn more about how to stop these automatic triggers and one healing practice you can use by the end of tomorrow in order to stop the triggers from coming up, thus stopping the yelling at your kids? How many of you guys would like to do that? Okay, great. Because that's exactly what we're going to talk about here today. So what I just did was gave you an example of building a bridge. It took you started with, here's where you're at. You're yelling at your kids, through a series of communication to now get you to the point of like, oh my God, it is this, and this is what I want. Now we can lead into the webinar going into them already wanting it. And if you are an NGM Plus student, this can also be combined with your diagnosis stage you want to do in a webinar. This can also be combined with the thought reversals that we might be doing in the beginning of webinars as well. Okay. So with that being said, there is a process to this, and I have gone through this in multiple niches in multiple ways, and the process is always the same. Okay. So here is the process. You guys can write it down. If you're near a computer, if you're driving or something like that, just come back and hit record, watch the replay. But there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 steps. Yeah. Let me just count it up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep. Okay. So here are the steps. Number one, you have to start with the problem. This has to be the problem they are aware they have. This is what builds relevancy. Okay. So we're going to start with the problem. Then we're going to go to a mistake. Then we're going to question the mistake. We're going to reveal a subconscious behavior that they have, which means they're not aware that they have it, or it's going to be in most cases, it's going to be a subconscious behavior, but it could be something they're unaware of. You're going to reveal something. Okay. Then you're going to question the subconscious behavior, and then you're going to reveal the real cause. Okay. So problem, mistake, question the mistake, reveal the subconscious behavior, question the subconscious behavior, and then reveal the real thing, which is the solution, the real cause, which is the solution. So we're going to start with the problem. Again, it has to be a problem that they know they have. They have to be aware of this problem. And it has to be spoken in a way that is relevant to them. They don't have to think about it. They get it. They go, oh my God, you're talking about me. Yep, that's exactly what I'm dealing with. It could be something as simple as, do you yell at your kids anytime you need them to listen? Yes, I do, right? They just need them to say, yes, I do, or that's me. Okay, that's it. So you start with the problem or problems. You can have multiple in there if you want. The next one is going to be the mistake. So there's 2 types of mistakes you can use. It could be the mistake that causes the problem. If you're going to go that route, it has to be a mistake they are aware of that they're doing. If they're not aware they're doing it, you're too many steps ahead. If they're not aware of the cause, that's going to be the reveal at the end. So is there a cause to that problem that they're not aware of? That is number one. Okay. Number 2, mistake. Actually, there's going to be 3 mistakes here. Okay. So the third mistake. So there's one mistake is going to be the cause. The second mistake is, what did they do to try to fix it that doesn't work? And then the fourth mistake is like, what do they feel? And I call it a mistake because usually they're going to beat themselves up. So what are they beating themselves up about? So in the example with Rachel, what I said was, you sit there and you tell yourself you're going to change in the morning, and then it doesn't really work. That also is a mistake people do to try to fix it that doesn't work. So you can kind of combine them there. But we do need some sort of mistake there. I would say 90% of the time, you're probably going to want to use the mistake they do to try to fix it that doesn't work. Okay. So mistake they do to try to fix it doesn't work. And then you're going to question the mistake. And that is literally as simple as like, have you ever asked yourself why that doesn't work? Have you ever asked yourself why that doesn't happen? Now, here's the reason why that's really powerful. Because when people have a problem and then they make a mistake or they're doing something to try to fix the problem, they're doing it because they literally think that it's going to work. They literally think it's going to help. So when they literally think that's how you fix the problem. So when you yell at your kids, which is the problem, right? With the example with Rachel, then they sit down and tell themselves, I got to stop doing this every night, and they feel guilty. They're literally doing that because they think that will help. They think that will work. But the problem is it doesn't. That's why they still have the problem. If what they were doing worked, they wouldn't have the problem anymore. So by default, by starting with a problem, you're already going to know whatever they're doing to try to fix it doesn't work because they still have the problem. If they didn't have the problem, then whatever comment or messaging you're using wouldn't be relevant to them. Okay. So get them to question the mistake. Have you ever asked yourself why that doesn't work? Have you ever wondered why that doesn't work? What that does is get them into a place of like, no, I haven't. Wow, that doesn't really work. You can even add a line in that says, have you ever asked yourself why that doesn't work? I mean, because if it did, you wouldn't have the problem anymore, right? So there must be something else going on. So you can add that sort of language to it. But then what I realize is there's always some sort of subconscious behavior that they are unaware of. They're usually unaware of it. And sometimes you might be too. So like when I work with students, I have to ask the right question to pull out that behavior. So in the example with Rachel, their subconscious behavior that they didn't know and they didn't realize was that the yelling was automatic. Their behavior was automatic. It was automated. It was just a response. So that was the subconscious thing that they weren't aware of. When we look at like, unhealthy eating or emotional eating or something like that, the root cause of the problem might be that they haven't, for the past year, they've done 3 diets or 3 workout routines, and none of them have caused them to lose weight. Right. So they have this, and then the mistake might be they keep following every fad diet or something like that. Then you question, well, have you ever asked yourself why the fad diets aren't working for you? Right. Then you're going to look at, well, what's really going on? What's the what's the subconscious behavior? The subconscious behavior is there's an automatic compulsion or drive or desire or want to eat at night, right? So they sit down and there's just this overwhelming sort of response. Again, that's the subconscious behavior. They probably never ask themselves like, well, why does that subconscious behavior? But the subconscious behavior is happening is like, no matter how much you follow those fad diets, you sit down at night and you just have this uncontrollable appetite or demand or craving for something, but they don't recognize that as the problem. So that's the subconscious behavior. They were unaware of that starts to happen. Then once you reveal the subconscious behavior, you question it. Have you ever asked yourself why that automation, that automatic craving, desire for something happens at night? Do you ever understand why that's happening? No. And then now you reveal why it's happening. It's happening because of, I don't know, it's usually an emotional response, which is why it's happening at night. And that comes from trauma or I don't know, whatever it may be. So again, what we want to do is reveal the problem. You always want to start with the problem in a very specific way. You want to then mention the mistake they do. Usually you're going to go with what they do to try to fix it. Then you're going to question the mistake. Have you ever realized that, wondered why that mistake doesn't work? Or you're not going to say mistake, but you ever realize that that doesn't work? Because if it worked, you wouldn't have the problem anymore, right? And then the hardest part of this is you're going to have to find what that subconscious behavior is. There's always, and from every time I've attempted to do this, there's always been a subconscious behavior that they're doing or experiencing, or something's happening that they haven't questioned or asked about yet. So you're going to reveal the subconscious behavior, and then you're going to question the subconscious behavior. Where does that behavior come from? And it comes from, bam, the root cause of the original problem. So when you look for the subconscious behavior, it has to lead to the actual root cause. Okay. So, just trying to think if there's another example I can give. So if we did this like with my business, for example, I could say something like, are you the type of person who's putting really good information in your content, but you're not getting any sales and engagement? And if you are, then I'm sure what you've done to try to fix this problem is posting more content, doing more, posting more frequently, or trying different avenues or platforms. But have you ever asked yourself why that's not working? Have you ever asked yourself why that thing is not happening? Have you ever asked yourself why the new platform, why posting more hasn't given you the results you want? Then I'm going to reveal the subconscious behavior. The subconscious behavior in this case might be something like, it could even be a subconscious belief that they don't know. So even look at that. Even for me, I'm already learning more about my own process. So it could be subconscious behavior or belief. So I would say, have you ever asked yourself why that's happening? And I would say in most cases, it's happening because you think education is going to drive engagement. You think education is the only way to add value. But have you ever asked yourself why that isn't working? And the root causes and the reason why that's not working is because there are other ways to build value. There are other ways to connect besides delivering information. There's other ways to shift people's perspective to get them to see things differently. And that's really powerful. And so if you want to learn that, then that's what this webinar is going to be about. So again, reveal the subconscious behavior or the belief. I just realized it could be a belief as well. So again, let's repeat that. Problem, the mistake that caused it, question the mistake, reveal the subconscious behavior or belief they have, question that behavior, question that belief, and then reveal the real thing. And then that builds a bridge from them not being aware to them being aware of what it is and that they need it. When you reveal the solution, you can even back it up. So you could back it up. If I followed that up with like, look at Gary Vaynerchuk or Brene Brown or this or that, that would work really well. So you could back it up with a counterexample. You could back it up with a metaphor or analogy. So even if I revealed the solution and I said, that would be like look at the difference between a TED Talk and an encyclopedia. Which one would you rather learn from, right? So I could back it up with a metaphor analogy. So you could back up the final step with the reveal as well. Okay. So give that a try. Let me know how it goes, but this is all about building a bridge. Again, you can use it in webinars. You can use it, in content if you want to. You can use it anytime you're selling something in an ad. It could work in an ad, but those are the steps that I would use to build your first bridge. So my challenge to you this week is to put it into action. At least write it out. If you cannot figure it out, or don't send me a message if you're like, I just can't figure this out. Send me a message if you're like, Brandon, I literally don't think there is, a subconscious behavior or pattern here. Like I just can't see it, or I can't, whatever. And give it a try. Don't resort to your first thing. You got to remember, we have thousands of people that listen to this podcast. So don't want thousands of DMs because people just didn't spend the time to actually think through it. So think through it a little bit. But if you're truly at a place you're like, I literally don't think it even exists for me, boom, send me a message. The process may need to be improved on. The framework might need to be improved on, or I can help you see what it is. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. Put it in action. I'm really excited to see how this gets developed and then eventually incorporate it into our program. So I'm really excited and glad to have you guys along the journey of helping me discover more of my messaging and communication process to help you guys on a deeper level. So let me know what you think. And I will talk to you guys all next week. Take care.
Hey guys, thank you so much for checking out another episode of the New Generation Entrepreneur Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, go below, hit the subscribe button, and make sure you click on that bell icon and get notified every time we drop a new episode. Now, if you're looking for the show notes, we have them linked underneath this video, as well as our social media handles and some links to free training and offers that we drop from time to time to help you guys even further. So go check those out if you're interested. And thank you so much for tuning in to the New Generation Entrepreneur Podcast.